What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Tag Team, the Pokemon trading card game's premier podcasting trio. My name is Riley Hulbert, joined, as always, by my good friends, Mr. Andrew Mahone and Mr. JW Kriewall. Folks, how we doing today?
Chilling, Riley. Doing well. Streamed my second Saturday in a row this past weekend. Streamed the Full Grip Games League Cup. We had over 30 players in attendance, and Cole, one of our employees at Full Grip and resident retro expert, which is funny because he's only like 19 or 20 or something.
19-year-olds love to get into retro, though.
It's funny because he like is super into it, and like RSPK is like his favorite format. Lived through like zero of it.
Really?
Yeah.
So, well,
Yeah.
okay. So as a 19, 20-year-old, sorry to get off track. Like, are you proxying it all, or is he just like,
Nah, bro.
he's laying
got
it down?
cards.
Oh my goodness,
laying it
that's
down. He's an Indian.
epic. That's
dude.
so epic.
Yeah, it's sick. It's beast. Yeah, I mean, like he flew to Japan for like one of those RSPK tournaments that's happening in Japan with like Jason Krasinski and all them. And,
Oh my gosh.
I mean, yeah, he's a beast, bro. He's a beast. He's 100% into it. And yeah, so yeah, Cole's sick, and I got to do the League Cup commentating with him. So that was great. So very thankful that Cole joined me for that. It was a lot of fun, and Cole did a great job. I mean, he's a theater major in school, like musical and theater major. Yeah, so like, performance is like kind of his thing. I think he just got done doing a show, like a little show up in Cleveland, and he had like a major role in the show. So like that was sick. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And today, I gave myself a little bit of a day off, because I've been working Saturdays last 2 weeks, and really just burning the candle at both ends. But Natalie and I's cars needed a ton of work. We both just needed brakes done. It was just one of those things.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, both needed brakes done in the same month, and my car battery died, just like all at once. And like,
Well, the car battery's
we're
not so
already.
bad.
Well, my Jeep car battery is $500 actually. So
$500 to replace, or $500 for the battery?
Well, replaced and installed. $500.
Oh, okay. All right.
But it
Well,
was
that's
an
because
expensive
you can do it.
It's an
Yeah, that one's a pretty easy.
It's an expensive battery.
Yeah, for sure.
It was like they called me and were like, "Hey, just to let you know, the battery in your car." And I'm like, "Oh, freaking course it is, because I have a Jeep Wrangler, right?" Like, but
Yeah.
it's cool. it's I'm done paying for the car, so that's why anytime I have to pay for something with the car, like I'm like, dude, it's all. I used to pay $500 a month for this freaking car.
Oh my gosh.
For 6 years, dude. Yeah, dude. For 6 years I paid $540 a month for this thing. But it was a brand new Jeep Wrangler in 2017.
Think of how many. Think of how many cards you could have.
Bro,
You probably have
true,
like a
JW.
Latias Gold Star.
Yeah,
at
put
this
it all
point.
in the card terms.
I do have a Latias Gold Star. Well, that's exactly where this conversation is going. Things are tight. Things are already tight because I stopped streaming every single day of the week. Had a child, and are paying, just paying to take care of the kid. And when you're doing the calcs in your head, like pre-kid, you're like, oh, how much could a kid possibly cost, like month to month? You're like, it's like,
What,
couldn't be
$10?
that much.
Yeah.
Then you like get into it, and there's just like a lot of things that just come up, right? As far as like taking care of the kid. Not to mention like we're financing all the IVF stuff we had to do and all that.
Yep.
I mean, it just is a
Yep.
lot, right? Like, so we're still paying those bills down. Like, so either way, things are tight. And then you add the car bills on top of it, and it's like, well,
Yeah, you better hustle, bro.
I'm gonna sell off some cards, and that's where we're at. We're kind of like selling off some stuff.
Oh, go for the kidneys first.
Dude, let me
pruning.
know. If we can keep it in the family, let me know.
We've been pruning the collection
Well, what
you
is?
know.
Do you have a TCG player? I'll save you some fees or something.
He does. He does.
I do have a TCG player.
I've seen
of course.
him. I've
Yeah,
seen
Okay,
him.
all right.
I do have one
Send
TCG
that
player.
over if you're trying to.
I'll let you know next time. I'll let you know. But I'll also see if you would have taken me up on this, because I went to Mr. Sean Lydon today, who is like, if I need cash quick guy,
Yeah.
he's good friend of mine and one of my need cash quick guys for sure. But I've known Sean for a long time, and he operates like he actually just got himself. He used to work at Full Grip. He and Full Grip went separate ways years ago. And he was kind of like just trapping out of his basement for the longest, and he actually just got he's renting a space
storefront?
now.
He's got a
in
storefront?
Medina.
Oh my
well,
gosh.
it's not a storefront. It is a space. It
It's
is
just a
trap
warehouse.
house. Yeah, I went there today. It is literally a trap house, bro. It is a place where he and his whatnot buddies, they just have studios, and they just stay up till 3
That's
a.m.
awesome.
whatnotting, bro.
Good for
They
him.
just stay up whatnotting crap all night. And then they need a space to pack and ship the crap. So like that's where it is literally a whatnot dungeon is what he has in like
Wow.
Medina now. So
Oh my gosh.
So I walked in and he was showing me around. So I was like, "You're gonna turn this into a storefront, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, yes, I know." And like almost begrudgingly was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Because if someone walks in the front door and is like, 'Hey, you guys got Pokemon cards for sale?' You're not gonna say no." Like no.
Yeah. Well, I always thought that the whole point of a storefront was not actually necessarily to sell cards, but it was actually to get cards, right? To intake.
For sure, right?
People selling collections, people,
Exactly.
I guess they're buying the booster
Exactly.
box, opening it, and just like selling back all the stuff they don't need, that kind of thing.
And he agrees, finally.
Okay.
Yes. And
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
like
intake
he'd always
and
said he
outtake
wasn't gonna.
is both good though, right? Like,
I
Yeah,
know.
but you're doing most.
You know-
I would say you're doing like more than 50% of your sales online. Probably even more than
for
that.
sure,
Probably like
but if you could
2/3
just
of your
pay
sales
off
online.
rent for the location by selling some random crap, like, and then still
Sure.
be able to make all that money online, like that's just worth it, isn't it?
Sure.
So, so I hit up Sean, and I had already planned on going to Sean's because Sean does whatnotting, right? And I have a stream coming up on Wednesday, a Gym Leader Challenge stream that's going to be featuring the new cards from the Mega Evolution set, right?
Mhm.
So like I already have that stream planned, so I'm like, all right, well, in a past life where I wasn't broke, I was just buying like, I don't know, 6 booster boxes of Mega Evolution to just freaking crack them, right? Because I could just do that. Like,
Well, and they
whatever.
were
That was
you
just
know, $30 or $40 or $50 each. Like,
well, these are $70 a piece. I would have been game
Okay.
for that.
Okay.
$70 a box. I would have been game for that. Like $400. Like whatever, slam it. Like I don't care, right? But these days I'm like, all right, well, how can we not spend $400 on like a set opening, right? And it's very easy actually. I go to somebody who cracks packs like Sean, and I'm like, hey, bro, do you got like bulk that you don't need? And he's like, oh, do I? And like, could just off the bulk to me. So I was already headed to Sean's for that. So then but then I could just order like the lowest rarity of like the singles online, and they're usually like $2 a pop. Like if you go onto like eBay right now, you can find Venusaur EXs for $2 a pop. Like I could buy 4 of those. I could buy like 4 Lucarios, and I'll have all the cards I needed the set for like less than $50.
It's a more straightforward process. Yeah.
It's more straightforward. It's not sexy. It's not hot. I don't get to like create content out of it, but like it is like undeniably more economically correct for me to do. So I'd already planned on going to Sean's to get his Mega Evolution bulk, and I texted him. I was like, hey, bro, would you be interested in like some high-end cards? Because like Natalie and I had like $3,000 worth of card bills this month, and just yeah. He's like, sure, sure. So I bring over like a bunch of stuff. Natalie told me just no gold stars, and I can sell anything else. So I bring him the stuff, and I had already kind of decided that maybe I was gonna part with my my PSA 10 Zapdos, Articuno, and Moltres EX from Fire Red Leaf Green. I have the whole set. I have all 3 of them. I opened them myself when I was a teenager. Got them graded in like 2018 or so. They're all 10s, And the thing about those cards, like compared to some of the other stuff that I have, like I've weeded out a lot of the junk. Like I don't really have a lot of junk sitting around anymore. It's all nicer stuff. And it's like, okay, well, as far as doing like a quick flip to a buddy. Like I feel like those 3 have to remain a set. Like they're all 3 10s. They're the 3 legendary birds. Like I'm not gonna off one of them. I want all 3 of them to go as a set. So in my mind, I had kind of said like, well, they go for like upwards of $1,000 a piece, but like realistically, you're thinking more like $800 a piece. They haven't really gotten as crazy as some of the other cards that we have, like, but they're at like a higher end of where they've been in the last like handful of years right now, right? Like kind of maxing out around $900 to $1,000 a piece, but like low end like 700, 600, right? So in my mind, I was like, if he gives me 2,000 cash for the 3, like I'll just take that, like for sure, because I was like thinking to myself, like as far as like getting percentages, because he needs to like be getting enough of a percentage to be able to make some money off of them. I was like, if he sells the set for like 800 a piece, that's like 2,400, like that's, okay, like cool, and that's if he sells it for 800 a piece. If he sells it for 1,000 piece, he makes a nice $1,000 off them. Like, but that you're like really swinging, you're getting like maximum value off of all of them, and that's like if you sell on eBay, they're taking 15%, right? So like,
yeah, that's tough.
So I had already thought to myself like, okay, well he goes to shows and stuff, like so he can off them that way, like as a set, and he does whatnots like all the time. And apparently like on whatnot and on eBay has like a streaming feature where you can like auction stuff like live. I didn't even know this. Apparently
they do. Yeah.
So they do
it's their
that
answer to
all
whatnot,
the time too.
Right?
So they do that too. They'll just put singles up. Like it'd just be like, what do you want? Do you want this? People just buy it like right there. So he gave me $2,000 for those. And I was happy with that, and and I was talking to Natalie, but Natalie's like, I'm sorry I had to get rid of your cards. And I'm like, I really don't. Like, I really, like, yes, those are cards that were, like, from my childhood, but, like, I really don't feel any type of way about it because at this point, like, I always say, like, the cards are worthless unless you actualize them and, like, sell them. That they're worthless. If you're gonna get buried with your freaking cards, that they aren't money.
Yes,
they aren't worth anything. If you're never gonna sell them, they aren't worth anything, right? Like so, like you actually have to make it.
You have to do the work. You
have to turn them into money. You have to turn them exactly. So for me, it's like, dude, that's just a feel good. It's a feel good thing for me. Like they're cards I opened as a kid. I kept them nice, and I flipped them for $2,000, like in my adulthood, when I was in a pinch. And that, like, I don't feel any type of way about that. Like, that's just like, to me, that makes me happy that I have, the means to be able to just be liquid with my assets like that, because they need to be, because that's because these are the things that I have that are like, that are worth something. I need to be able to actualize stuff in a pinch if I need to. I don't have a huge savings to speak of. When I switched careers from teaching to being a content creator, I was making $30,000 a year as a teacher in Akron, Ohio. Certainly wasn't putting any of that away. And then as I've said, like over the course of the last 8 years that I've been content creating, I mean, I've invested everything into like the business and to like assets that I have. I mean, the house, and my car and things like that, the card collection, for sure, the channel, equipment, all that.
Yep.
So it's kind of just where we're at now. But anyways, that's my long-winded intro. Yes, here I am on a Monday. I just flipped some cards,
paid his car bill,
let go of some childhood memories, and they're off on their next adventure.
I'm too sentimental. If I had those cards with that story, I would really struggle to get rid of them. I don't have the guts.
I'm kind of with you, Andrew. It's like where I'm at with a lot of the cards is like, yes, if they they do bring me memories, and I'm not hurting for the cash, right? So like Andrew, this is just a time where it's like, yeah, these are the cards that I feel I can get the best return on right now, and I don't feel like I need them around, and like, yeah, I'm with you. It's like you have to actually sell these things to get value out of them. They're not valuable just as they are. And so
no, so I literally felt nothing. Because I was just like, I have needs.
That's awesome.
These are not fulfilling them.
For sure.
Well, and then like the other thing that I think about is, especially as some of these like I have obviously the couple cases of Evolving Skies, and then you just have some of these old booster boxes that I've had for a while. None of the crazy expensive ones, but like you think 10 years down the road of like, who is, the market just gets much smaller once those prices go up more, right? Like you're talking about booster boxes, that are $2, $3, $4, $5, $10,000. And it's like, who is actually buying this, and how could I get rid of it quickly, at a rate that I feel good about?
Bubble.
Yeah.
Bubble?
You say bubble? I mean, maybe.
Yeah, it's like the card bubble, dude.
But it's like, I don't care. I don't care, to be honest. I mean, because I think if there is a bubble, which is somewhat debatable, because I think you're seeing a lot of people come into the hobby that'll sustain it, right? But if we are seeing like a very significant bubble, I think that new floor, that new plateau is going to be much higher than it was in the past.
100%.
So,
but it just implicitly does, like you're saying, get more challenging to move stuff, right? Like, as it like gets into the whale market, there's a limited number of those people. There's more than there used to be. But there's only so many people like on the planet who are willing to do that kind of stuff.
yeah, exactly. Because you think about some of these booster boxes, and they're not the highest end. Like I don't have any team up, but I have a couple from the tag team era, and like those are starting to get in that $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 range. And like I just think about it, it's like, okay, it's not a big deal now necessarily. Like I could throw that on eBay and no problem, but the higher it gets, the less opportunity you have with that kind of stuff.
For sure. So,
well, it becomes more of a headache to move it.
It's more of a headache too. Yeah. I was thinking about that. Like as the Evolving Skies gets to like, there are cases that have sold for like 15,000, and then I'm like, well, at that point, do I just buy a plane ticket and like hand deliver it to this person? Because imagine shipping something that expensive. I love the U.S. Postal Service, but I don't know if I love them that much. I don't know if I trust them that much. But
for sure.
Anyway,
Keep that in your personal item, for sure, on your way through the airport.
yeah, absolutely. So
check that.
It's a really interesting time.
They take the hammers to it.
It's a really interesting time for cards right now. I mean, Sean had just told me that he had just because Sean, during the COVID bump, everything spiked, right? And then he was in the like kind of hold on, don't sell, continue accruing mindset during that.
Yeah.
And then like immediately felt burned because like after COVID kind of subsided, a lot of the prices dropped on like everything. And he's like, dang, dude, like the cards that I have now are not worth as much as they were a couple years ago. It feels bad. And then so like now we're going through another spike. And he just said, I'm letting a ton of this stuff go. He had a PSA 10 first edition Dark Charizard. He let go for like seven grand. He had a PSA 10 Gold Star, Metagross. All of his, he had like a bunch of like high graded Shinings and Gold Stars and stuff that he just like let go for like thousands and thousands of dollars. But like he used it. He finally like actualized that to like pay for something big that he needed to like pay for, right? So yeah, I mean there's some times where it's like you can't just hoard. like unless you just got it like that, unless your day job affords you to just hoard constantly, you can't just hoard, right? You actually have to like, it has to be a revolving door. You can bring stuff in, but eventually you got to start letting stuff go too, or else or else what? You're a dragon sitting on your freaking pile of gold.
It's like the kids, right? I'm sure you're starting to get to this point, Andrew. It's like, okay, grandma and grandpa bring a new toy over. That means another toy's going down in the basement, Baby Harper's
sure.
not going to see that.
You already said.
Another stuffy comes in the bedroom. All right, that's a stuffy on its way out. And we do it, we'll just kind of we'll just kind of like hide it, right? It's like a stuffy she hasn't played with for a while. We'll just kind of like bring it to the basement. No, no one
taking
says
stuffy
anything.
out back.
I know. Well, because taste changes, right? And it's like collecting
sure.
in many ways. Children's stuffy collection. They have preferences and they have their favorites, and that changes over time. And if they, get rid of something or it gets taken, a lot of times it's not a big deal. We'll just move on to the next thing. So
we already said no. We don't want any gifts for his first birthday.
Yeah, no, don't do that. Yeah, house is
we
packed,
said no
I'm
gifts,
sure.
bro.
Yep.
Oh my god, dude. Yeah, no gifts. No
No,
gifts.
do
Do you have a
cash.
college
Start
fund set up for him.
Yeah, I was gonna say do cash.
We
and
already
start
did that. We already
Yep.
did that. Yep. We already
100%.
did that. So yeah. Yep. It's like right, because dude, I mean, look, we've even got in frame, bro. That's from Nana right there, a little horse thing. I mean, it's just our house.
You don't need that, dude.
Literally, bro. Every square inch of the freaking house. It's
Nana's love buying gifts. It's what they like
I
to
know.
do.
I know. Well, I'm not gonna deny Nana. If Nana want to bring something new over, like that's fine. That's fine. It just means that we're not buying anything anymore, and nobody else either.
Anyway.
Well, so it goes. Revolving doors.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I had a good weekend though, Riley. Thanks for asking. I had a family reunion for my wife's side of the family. So we went to Pennsylvania, Amish country, which is beautiful. Oh my gosh. I think they're doing something right. Like, I think the Amish just like really have it together. Because it was just absolutely gorgeous. They clearly are growing in the area. That I was reading an Amish newspaper that speculated that they would have, like, I think it was 1 million Amish in this county by 2040. I'm like, that's like a pretty sizable number, and that's like a 50% increase from what they expected.
Propaganda right there, dude.
It could be.
Propaganda.
I don't know, man.
Falling for the Amish propo.
No, dude, it's good. It's good. They have a good way of life, I think. They're doing something right.
So here's
an
interesting thought exercise.
Yep.
So are you familiar with Rumspringa?
Yes, I am.
So for the uninitiated, this is a Amish. I ask people this all the time. This is an Amish tradition where like around 16 to 18, you're allowed to like experience the real world for a little bit without like oversight from the community. And you get like a choice whether you want to just continue being a real like part of the real world and technology and society, or go back to like your friends and family and like live the rest of your life with them. And it's like a binary choice. You don't get to like be a part of your friends and family's lives if you leave the community. So let's posit this world where you're Amish and you get to experience the real world. You get to experience scrolling and TikTok and like inundating your brain with content. Would you be scared and go back? Would you miss your family and go back? Or would you devolve into the modern gluttonous world that we've created for ourselves?
Well, I think the problem with TikTok is that you don't what
Why is TikTok like life? Why are you like, oh, modern life, TikTok? Okay, so it's got to be.
Dude, I'm just saying,
the most
like,
important
TikTok is hardwired to get people
experience
addicted. Like,
as
if
an
you're coming from
social
Amish
media. I mean, they all have all these social media apps are essentially
I've never used
clones.
TikTok in my life, bro.
Okay, have you used Facebook Reels? Have you used Instagram?
Am I basically Amish?
Have you used Instagram Reels? I know you do.
Well,
have you used Twitter before?
Reels, but I've never used TikTok.
Well,
yes,
I mean, it's the same, bro. It's just they're all clones of each other. So we could have used any social media platform in that discussion.
No,
But
I don't scroll Reels though. Sometimes there are video feeds on my Instagram
we're not
feed.
talking to
Okay.
the
And I
elites
share
here.
them with Riley.
You're sharing Reels? Okay, you're sharing Reels and you're saying that you're not scrolling. So you're like literally like opening Reels. The first Reel you open is so good that you have to share it, and then you just put the phone down for the rest of the.
That's enough for
the rest of the
day.
day.
And then I back
That's
out,
insane.
and then I go scroll my feed again. I don't know. I don't just do video. I don't know.
This isn't really the point of the exercise.
Anyways, so my question is, I don't know. Is there like, I feel like my choice, if I'm like a teenager, like 16 to 18, my choice would be largely dictated by like whether or not I had like a baddie back in Amish that I was interested in, or if I had met some baddie out in like in the other world. That would be where my brain would be 100%, and I would definitely be chasing tail.
Okay.
That is like where I would end up. Yeah.
I think that's a valid answer. JW, how do you play?
Okay, well, before I got interrupted so rudely, what I was going to say is that with these social media applications, I mean, they control you, man.
That's what I'm saying. They're hardwired to make you
and
addicted.
It's like the Amish they get it, I think, because their society isn't like they're looking to like better themselves and their family, but it's not built on profiting, and your thoughts are your own. Right? They're not influenced. So,
they have a whole doctrine that they gotta follow.
Yeah, they're influenced. They're influenced in different ways. Okay, but I don't know. Not maybe I don't know. Okay, I was gonna say not to that extent. Maybe to more of an extent. I don't know. Hard to say. We all have to have an ethos, I guess, but I think theirs is much more wholesome.
All right, let's have a vote. Which one of us is the most brain rotted?
Oh. I feel like it's either me or JW.
Yeah.
I think it might be JW actually.
But it's interesting, right? Because you have Andrew over here who spends
JW.
but you have Andrew who spends, I mean, most of his days with like people under 25, right?
No.
At your
My
job?
Twitch chat
Really?
has always been like a millennial.
Hello,
At your job?
Your son.
But
we cooked him.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, and I know for sure. Okay, and then I know for sure that
so then
Natalie
you
is a
probably
bit
had
like
the
a
most
a radioactive
serious reaction to like experiencing Amish because you're the most brain rotted. So like you had the highest contrast.
Well,
It was
okay,
the
but
most viscerally different. than
but
your
you guys
experience.
haven't
because it was
experienced the Amish.
such a
recently. When was the
clash.
last time you experienced the Amish?
Oh
Bro,
my
all the
gosh.
time I live in freaking Ohio.
Yeah.
Will
Okay,
literally
so that was
lives
like
in Amish
slow-
country and works at Full Grip Games.
That was like slow, prolonged exposure. Okay. This was me coming from New York City. If you didn't know, the United States' largest city with about 8.5 million residents, to Intercourse, Pennsylvania. Real name.
Is that what it's called?
They have
It
an
is real,
Intercourse,
yeah.
Pennsylvania. Yeah. Andrew, you know, right? You probably know.
I do know.
Um,
I've spent a lot of time in Ohio or in Pennsylvania as well. I'm not, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So
Literally, the first suggested search result is Intercourse, Pennsylvania meme.
yeah.
Cool.
So I don't know. It's probably me or you, Riley. But
Well,
my counter
so
to
here's the
Andrew would
thing.
be
I
that he spends
realized
most
my
of his
brain
time
was
with
getting
little
really
kids.
rotted.
What's that?
Well, I caught my brain rotting, and I decided I was going to fix it, so I put screen time on my
Attaboy.
I
Password
know
protect
Riley
that.
has been going through a cleanse because he's been telling us that he's deleted Twitter and stuff off his phone. So I'm like, oh yeah, good boy, Riley. There you go. And like I did that for a while. I had deleted all social media off my phone for a while. And then it crept back on because I have to finish this freaking documentary. And there's like a lot of people that you can only connect with if you have social media, right? Like it's just the only way to reach out to people you don't know. It's like the whole, like if I want to strike up conversations and connect with people I don't know, social media is like the only way to do that. So that's how it's crept back in. But yeah, JW though.
Honestly, though, you feel
rot,
out
dude.
of the loop without Twitter. Like stuff goes down there.
I know, dude. I know.
That's true.
But I had to
That's
do
true.
it.
I know.
Yep. Speaking of stuff going down, there was some I don't know, plagiarism. Would you call it plagiarism, Andrew? What's the
Yeah, it was.
what's the artwork?
plagiarism.
What's the
100%
artwork
it's
terminology
plagiarism,
for
yeah.
that? It's called plagiarism.
Plagiarism.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
hearing there's this thing called plagiarism.
well, I didn't know if that just extended to text. If there was like another word.
Here, let
For
me chat
stealing
GPT
artwork?
what plagiarism means.
Ironic. But Pokemon Pocket is in the center of a plagiaristic controversy with the new immersive arts that they had to, take down from the platform. And I think you guys have the article up, so we can kind of go through this. But they explained that here reading from the article that while the TCG artwork is usually created with the illustrator's creativity and individuality in mind, for some artwork like the Ho-Oh, the production team asked the artist Sai Nanahara to simply redraw the concept sketches. Well, it turns out that the concept sketch shown on the screen now was a fan art. It was a piece of fan art, and it's beautiful. But they did an overlay. Obviously somebody caught this or like, hey, this looks strikingly similar to something I've created, and did an overlay, and pretty much everything matches up. Here's the two pictures, and here's the card that was to be released in PTCG Pocket. So pretty.
Yeah. So, and the artist in question too is a beloved TCG artist, C Nanahara, and they've put out, for example, like the Greninja EX alternate art promo that's super beautiful. They have a really nice repertoire of just gorgeous looking card arts, Hisuian Zoroarks, Hisuian Zoroark V-Stars. Alternate art was made by this artist. And so it was a really like blow to the community when this like accusation first dropped, to the point where like Pokemon kind of intervened. It was like, yeah, this was actually on us. And for listeners out there who are like maybe skeptical at that, that's like not abnormal in this sort of industry, right? To get the gig, and your employer in this case is just like, hey, do this specific thing that we ask you to do. So really, I don't really see any fault at all of the artist. Like, they were given art from their employer and worked on it in good faith, and it was just a complete flub. So Pokemon did pull the Ho-Oh EX from TCG Pocket preemptively. I don't think the card had actually even fully released yet or something like that. And there was an Alugia, I think, where the Ho-Oh also appeared as well, that they pulled the art for, and they're working to get new arts for both of those cards in Pocket. Honestly, like, as far as like responses go, I think that's actually pretty good for Pokemon Company. They own up to it. They're releasing new art and took down the affected art as soon as they like were made aware of the issue. Like, what more can you really ask for? I mean, obviously not making the mistake to start, but like, if the mistake is going to be made,
yeah, it was a swift response.
As far as I'm concerned, like the best thing you could do in response to it.
Yeah, you're the artist, Andrew. Give me a take.
JW, musical artist.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So for me, I'm thinking like it's completely understandable how this happened. Pokemon at this point, it's just such a huge franchise, and not only are they designing cards for one game, they are designing different arts and different cards for two games. The same team, the same artist. I mean, you mentioned this is an artist who's created lots of cards for the TCG. Now they are also creating cards for TCG Pocket, right? And right. I can imagine that in this first year of like ramping up production from Creatures, because Creatures is the one that's like kind of behind the design of the cards for the physical TCG and for Pocket. It doesn't surprise me that something like this happened. I could imagine if you have been working Creatures, Pokemon's dang near 30 years old now. You pull up some artwork, you're like, yeah, that looks official. Sure, yeah. Who knows, really? Like, slam it. Looks good, Or maybe some intern gathered stuff together, and someone signed off on it, even though they shouldn't have, right? It's just like, I could easily imagine how this happened, especially since I suspect that that production is getting a little bit hectic with Pocket pumping out these sets like every 6 weeks or whatever, and then you're combining that with the production of like the regular card game, which Creatures is also handling. For something to have gotten overlooked with all of this production going, like essentially you have you've doubled your production of cards, like over doubled, right? In the last year. Yeah, I'm not surprised something slipped through the cracks. And for me, I think Pokemon did a very amicable job, like responding to it and fixing it. So to me, it's a non-issue. Pokemon's the biggest IP in the world. I don't blame them for not having like a complete 100% grasp on every single asset that they have created versus every single one that the fans have created, because like it's just a crap ton. It's just a lot. So it is what it is. I think they're doing the right thing now.
Yeah, that is really interesting. Like a doubling of the amount of cards that are produced. And yeah, it could have been way worse, right? Because it could have been copied art for the physical game, and you can't just pull that off, right?
You can't rescind that. No. That
just gets put into product. I mean, I guess you could like stop the products from being distributed, but that would be just a massive L, considering
the amount of cost.
The amount of cost that goes into that. So yeah, interesting. Could have been way worse. I think the OG artwork is fascinating. This is great stuff, and just kind of an unfortunate situation. I think I echo your sentiments though. Handled really well.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. We have a bit of time now, just a little bit of time to talk about the World Championships. So Worlds is coming up. We're going to devote the next part of this episode and next week's episode to a breakdown of the Worlds metagame. Andrew had a cup this last weekend at Full Grip that he commentated over. Mentioned that earlier in the cast, and so we'll get kind of his perspective with what he saw at that event, and then Riley and I will add in what we're seeing in terms of the meta trends, what we like in terms of decks, and what we think is poised to do well here in Anaheim. So, Andrew, why don't you break it down for us? You had that cup in the new format. What did you come out of that tournament really excited about, and what decks did you feel like underperformed?
Goldango certainly underperformed. There were none in top 8. There were, I think, 5 or 6 that got played there. 31 Masters players of the Cup, and none converted to top 8. We actually watched one lose in the very first round, I think, of the tournament. Player got out a Cornerstone Mask, and just like the Goldango deck just like it was a control deck, versus Goldango, and the control player was very easily able to like neutralize the Scizor and deck the opponent out, right? And this was Austin Charles was playing. Austin Charles is one of our strongest locals. He's qualified for Worlds. And is actually going to be attending. He was playing Goldango and just got outmaneuvered by the control deck in round 1 of the Cup. Didn't end up making top 8. And I know Goldango is one of the decks that he's considering for Worlds, and that's just like boom, got countered. Okay, we did have, I'd say, 2 Goldango counter decks made top 8 at our Cup. Both Crustle, piloted by Owen Robinson, and the Ethan's Typhlosion deck, piloted by Joe Rowe. Ethan's Typhlosion actually ended up winning the Cup altogether. Joe got paired against the Crustle deck in top 4. So kind of like a free trip to the to the finals once he made top 4, as defeating Crustle with Ethan's Typhlosion is not difficult. The Crustle, of course, cannot be damaged by Pokemon EX. So similar to the Cornerstone Mask, the Crustle deck is also a good counter deck to the Goldango deck, which just has a really tough time dealing with all of those Crustles that you're powering up, especially since they all end up wearing like luxurious capes and stuff. It's nuts. Like these 250 hit point Pokemon that can't be hit by a Pokemon EX. So, and then there were 9 Marnie's Grimmsnarl decks that got played at the Cup, and 3 of them made top 8. So there were lots of Marnie's Grimmsnarl. Marnie's Grimmsnarl ended up making the finals. And Marnie's Grimmsnarl looked pretty solid, all things considered. So to me, the biggest story coming out of the Cup was that like Goldango, if Goldango is going to be like hot, it is very counterable. and that was evident. And players know exactly how to counter Goldengo if that's what they're expecting.
Yeah, and to be fair, like cups are a little more susceptible to like local metagaming and that kind of stuff going down. But I think, to be honest, like that kind of aligns with my broader thoughts on the state of the format. JW and I were talking before the cast, and my take is I see there as being like kind of 4 top contenders in the metagame right now. Goldango and his stage 2 friends. So Gardevoir, Dragapult, and Grimmsnarl. Those to me are like the top contenders to win the World Championship. Goldango, I would say, actually has the most favorable matchup spread amongst those 4 decks. Like if you were only playing those decks in like a round robin over and over again, I think Goldango would have the best match record coming out of it. The problem I have with Goldango is it basically folds to everything else. And it's got a huge target on its back because a lot of people are really interested in Goldango right now.
Yep.
And I think what concerns me about Goldango going into the World Championship is I don't know if its matchups into the top 4 are good enough to justify what you're looking at with the rest of the field.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was surprised the more I play the Goldango deck, I'm just surprised at how good the Gardevoir matchup is. So I would say, like, yeah, that would have me very hopeful, but you also think that Gardevoir just generally is kind of on the decline, and then they get Jellicent, which is harder to beat than kind of the classic standard Gardevoir. But I'm kind of with you on like the Dragapult, right? Like there's a lot of things that Dragapult Charizard or Dragapult Dusknoir or even straight Dragapult can do to really screw with you. And it's, and that's all kind of baked into their game plan, and you have to be really on your toes to try to deal with some of that stuff. And then the other issue that I have with Goldango is it does get a lot more consistent, right? I think the Genesect really helps because now you don't care whether or not you go first or second. So that's a big help, and that's very evident that now this deck, gains this incredible consistency card. But yeah, there's just so much detritus and so much like if the decks can just play the cornerstone, right? You see, like I pull up some of these online tournaments, and I'm casually browsing through what's doing well, and you see the Raging Bolts with a cornerstone, or you see the tournaments that are just overrun with Crustle, or you see just other random techs. Maractus can be really annoying and against certain builds of Goldango, right? And so like if anything goes wrong, if there's a misstep at any point, that can be really, really detrimental for the Goldango deck. So I think it gains a ton of consistency with this new, with this new format, with the new set. But you're really wanting to keep the matchup spread kind of in a box, right? You're really hoping you hit a very select set of matchups, and then there's not a ton you can do against those more difficult matchups.
So, all that said, I'm not even that surprised by what you're saying with the outcome of the cup in that way, Andrew, because I feel like now, do I think Goldango's like DOA at World Championship? No. And if a Goldango makes it far, it'll probably do quite well. But I think for the average Goldango player going to the World Championship, and there will be many of them, right, facing a litany of other players, a lot of them are going to have stories like that, right? If I hit the Crustle round 2, or I hit the Cornerstone Mask in round 1, or I was in my Win-in and my opponent like whipped out the Cornerstone in their Raging Bolt build, like there's going to be a lot of stories like that at this World Championship.
Yep, exactly.
I'd probably be jamming a Cornerstone Mask in my Raging Bolt, bro. Like, I'm just saying, dude. I don't know, man. The Goldango deck has a really hard time dealing with that card.
Yeah, and that's like, there's not really a ton you can do, right? You have the Scizor.
It just like kills the Scissor.
Yeah. The Scizor doesn't have enough HP, which is, I think, just the major flaw. The 140 being just too little, right, to survive the Cornerstone. And so, but there's not really a better alternative. I've seen, Some players play fire attackers, like a fire stage 1. So you have the Scentiscorch that damages your bench. That could be interesting, right? But that's another whole 2 spots. If you're playing a 1/1 line, obviously we're all aware of the prizing issues that can happen in that case, and you wouldn't even be able to stream back-to-back Scentiscorch if you just played that 1/1 line. So there's some struggles there, but that's maybe an option, but that just seems pretty rough to me.
You're really kind of messing the deck up. You're sullying it up by doing all that, right? Because like the Scyther is buddy poffinable. It's got free retreat. It's like, man, the Scizor can be searched out with Genesect. Like, it all makes sense, man.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So, okay, let's not get too locked in on Goldango, but I think this is somewhat indicative of, like, we're seeing a meta shift that, and I'm seeing this in online tournaments. I'm sure you guys are as well. And you saw it at the League Cup, of like a meta that's not particularly favorable for Goldango. So let's kind of shift into some of these other decks that, maybe are pretty bad matchups. We know a lot about the top decks, the Dragapults, the Gardevoirs, the Dengos, the Grimmsnarl. Let's talk a little bit about those kind of mid-tier archetypes. So I'm thinking things like Charizard, Crustle, Typhlosion, Flareon. Let's talk a little bit about those.
Typhlosion, Pidgeot, dude. Typhlosion, Pidgeot won the cup, and it was a list that was based pretty heavily off of the list that Azul played to top 4 at the late night this past week. That's, it's a Typhlosion Pidgeot list. So Pidgeot EX with Typhlosion, and you play a Pheasantipity as well. You're kind of just like leaning into the consistency EX Pokemon and saying like Typhlosion is just like big and bad enough that like you're kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you ignore the Typhlosion and take out my consistency EXs, Typhlosion's coming back in for 310 with a Brave Bengal to Pokemon EX, with a Victini 320. It's just like obscene, right? Like that's a lot of damage to be ignoring. And then if you knock out the Typhlosion, you're only taking a single prize. I've got Pidgeot and Pheasantipity to like recoup and build the next attacker. So,
yeah, the matchup spreads don't look amazing for something like Ethan's Typhlosion. I'm here on Trainer Hill and looking through some of these percentages. Naturally you'd expect to have a good matchup into Crustle, but the Dragapult decks look pretty unfavorable, as you would probably expect. Some of these.
Joe beat Dragapult in top 8, bro.
The
new list, bro.
That's maybe something you want to talk a little bit more about, right? Is like the Pidgeot. You're seeing this in action. I think a lot of players with Ethan's Typhlosion have gone the single prize route, which makes a lot of sense, right? You want to just throw up, if you can, like 4 to 5 Typhlosion, and go that route, right? You're evolving up your Cyndaquils and Quillavas. You're having an army of Quillavas that just on the next turn are one Ethan's Adventure away, or an Attach and an Evolve away, a Night Stretcher away from going in and swinging for heavy damage. So do you feel like the Pidgeot gives the deck enough depth that puts this archetype over the top? Because in the past we haven't seen Pheasantipity, Pidgeot, whatever other consistency cards played with the Typhlosion, and now that maybe is becoming a little bit more standard. So is that the way to go? Is that doing too much? Like where are you at after seeing it?
I was joking with Cole before the stream that there's absolutely no chance that an Ethan's Typhlosion deck could top 32 the World Championships. Like absolutely no shot. Didn't have what it took. But then after seeing Typhlosion Pidgeot, I was convinced of the vision, and I had to retract my statement and say, you know what? Actually, I could see this deck finishing the top 32 of the World Championships. I could. I'm not saying it's like gonna top 8, but like if 1 or 2 finish in the top 32 of the World Championships, I wouldn't be like shocked or surprised or anything, because it does have all the pieces it needs now. A quick Pidgeot, early TM evolution. Then you've got like turn 2 Pidgeot. Pidgeot just like solves all the weirdness that goes down
Yeah.
with setting up the Typhlosions. Allows you to get key cards when you need them, whether it's Countercatcher, Brave Bengal, or just that extra card you need to take, complete the combo, take the one-hit knockout. Brave Bengal, is like a total game changer for the deck. You're now not capped at 280. You're capped at 310. With the Victini, that's an easy 320. I mean, that just is the right number, right? Like you're there hitting the right number that you need to hit now. You also play the Gravity Mountain, so like you can one-hit KO things that have 330 hit points. It's also not a problem. And Typhlosion itself is kind of beefy. I mean, 170 hit points, like not
First
going down
prize,
to Dustor is like pretty significant. And you've got the Quillavas that also have like the built-in consistency engine. So with Quillavas and Secret Box, it's actually just like it's like way too easy to get 4 Ethan's Adventure in the discard pile. And you're just like,
well, that's kind of the paradox of the Ethan's deck, right? Is because you want the Ethan's Adventures in the discard pile to do bigger damage, but then you also want them on the next turn so that you can stream attackers. So did you ever feel like that was a problem for...
Not with the Pidgeot. With the Pidgeot and the Fez, it's like not an issue because you actually are able to get through enough of your deck that like by the time it's like that end game and you just need to like find a Typhlosion and a Fire to attack, it's like you have the stuff necessary to find those cards.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I really it felt like a good list. Yeah, I liked it.
I was taking a look at some other Ethan's Typhlosion lists and actually saw Azul streaming this today too. People are trying out other like supporty Pokemon, which again, like the trend before was full single prize, full send single prize, no
you could do like
Pheasantipity.
Zoroark, right?
So Zoroark people are messing around with too. Like Air Balloon is a big game changer for making Zoroark like work better, since it's no longer like a retreat reliability. And the nice thing about Zoroark is it's instantly online with the TM Evo as opposed to needing to get that extra stage of evolution out. So there's some cool benefits there too. But same kind of concept, right? Of I'm gonna put a 280 HP support Pokemon on my bench, and really, like, what's knocking that out like super easily? Even like Pidgeot and Zoroark both are reasonably tanky. You look at Goldango is the deck that would KO it the easiest, and like Goldango's not really a matchup you're that worried about. And frankly, if they leave your Typhlosion alive, you're probably just winning that game anyway. So, but like comparatively, like Dragapult, for example, like Dragapult's probably not knocking out your Zoroark unless they do it with like a Dusknoir play. But then it's like a exchange. Your Typhlosion stays alive with the Bangle because they have to Dusknoir and attack into the Zoroark. So it's just like the things seem to work out a little bit better with these beefy support Pokemon, and they're not really that big of liabilities, I guess is the point I'm saying.
Something that Joe did that was a game changer too, and the tech that single-handedly won Joe the tournament was he played a Picnic Basket, and he faced multiple Grimmsnarl and was able to beat them, and I could confidently say that during Swiss he won his Swiss round against Grimmsnarl because of his Picnic Basket, which he just like dropped at like the worst time for his opponent, and who like definitely didn't see it coming like at all, and and neither did we, because we had like Azul's list. We had Azul's list like from the late night pulled up, and we were like, oh, he definitely just like copied this. And then he drops the Picnic Basket, and we were like, and then he used it in the finals too when he won against Grimmsnarl. And that's another card that I think he used. I didn't get to watch his top 8, but I would not be surprised if he used it in his top 8 to beat Dragapult also. So
yeah,
so that was clutch.
Yeah, you're kind of double dipping there. Picnic Basket was had some hype around NAIC. Ultimately, Grimmsnarl kind of flopped. It was still seen in a few decks, but you are double dipping a bit. Dragapult is still going to be good, and then you have Grimmsnarl that's still a threat. So, maybe there's some use here for the Picnic Basket. Maybe it becomes a better card now for decks. But okay, let's move on. Now, I think we're all pretty favorable then on Ethan's. I guess, like, hold on, before we move on though, you mentioned, Andrew, that you couldn't see Ethan's top 32ing at the World Championships. Could you see it, doing better than a top 32?
I could
now. Like, could you see a top 16, top 8? Like,
I could see a top 16. I would be very impressed with a top 8. But I don't really see it top 8ing, but I could see it top 16ing, top 32ing for sure.
Yeah.
I'm really apprehensive to underestimate these kinds of decks. It reminds me a little bit of like the Baby Blacephalon decks from like the Sun and Moon Sword and Shield era, that you just like have this powerhouse single prize attacker, and then who cares who's behind? Who cares who's behind it, right? Because like I'm just gonna one hit KO stuff with my single prize guy, and that just like inherently, the format is not really built to handle that right now, right? Like it's just not. There's no other single prize guy taking out 2 prizers like the Typhlosion can. So like the format's not really built to handle. There was the same formula that ended up helping Night March to do so well at the 2015 World Championships. Like the format was not really built to handle this single prize cannon that would just, and it didn't matter how many Shaman EX you had on your bench. You just like they can't gust every turn.
Sure.
You know, like you're just going in and taking. So like to me, I think like history is kind of there. It's possible. It's a little bit more of like there's some hoops you have to jump through to get those one hit KOs. But it seems solid to me. Honestly, it seems solid, and I could see this deck doing things.
Cool. Okay, let's move on. There's a few other decks that I wanted to touch on today in that kind of mid-low tier. One of those is Joltik Box. Joltik Box, really kind of leveled out, had some pretty high finishes when people didn't know how to play against it, leveled out pretty well, towards the end of last format. I think we all would have said probably a C tier deck at best at the end of last format. But this is something, at least within some of our circles, is getting a little bit of talk, I think, in many regards, because it does have somewhat solid matchups into the Dragapult, Gardevoir, Grimmsnarl, top tier of the meta right now. So I just wanted to get some thoughts on Joltik Box. If you guys think that this is a complete fraud deck, if you think that there is any reason to play Joltik, if it's something that players should stay away from. Where are you at with this deck?
For me, I feel like Joltik is in a kind of similar place it always has been, in that it's a good like emergency button deck. If you don't know what to play, you haven't got any practice in or whatever, you can slam Joltik Blocks. You'll probably play it pretty well, and you might have a solid finish, but you probably won't win the tournament. Like that's kind of the vibe I still have on Joltik Box. It does have new options. Like in theory, you could include things like Zekrom if you really wanted, but maybe more realistically, like the electric package is something that's available to you now, which adds a little bit of depth to the deck. One of my least favorite parts about Joltik Box is after your first like 1 or 2 Arvins, the card feels useless the rest of the game. So I like the idea of your Ultra Ball being a little bit more of a live card in the later stages of a game, where you can grab like your Eel and get an extra energy into play. And every energy counts so much with this deck. It really does. So I think that's a nice potential option. I don't even know if every Joltik would include it, but I think it's something that I would at least test out and consider. But yeah, I feel like the ceiling of the deck is kind of at a similar place to where it has been in the grand scheme of things. Like we could talk about the new cards that are being added, but I don't see them adding like a whole new dimension to the deck that all of a sudden makes it really good.
Sure.
I don't have anything nice to say about Joltik Box.
And if you don't have anything nice to say,
I think the deck is trash, bro. No, I think it's a trash. I think it's a trash deck. I think it's just you have like no agency when you're playing. It's just like you and the deck are just like kind of along for the ride, and like
hey, it's a vibes deck.
You're just
it's a straight vibes
you're gonna
deck,
play.
bro.
Yeah, well, I don't have the vibes, I guess. I don't know. You're like hoping that you play against the stage 2 decks and that they don't set up too fast, and that you like get your turn 1 Joltiks, and that like you get your turn 2 Iron Hands. Yeah. I don't I don't like it. I think it's kind of cringe, but that's me. I've had that opinion about this deck pretty much the whole time, and it's not changing now for Worlds, that's for sure.
Do you have a different take, JW? Because I think Andrew and I are ultimately pretty similar, though he said it differently than I did.
I don't know. I think Joltik Box might be a solid option. I mean, you think about the big three, and you got access to quick iron hands. Really anything's possible, right? And then you think about, like, especially Dragapult, you can capitalize if you play the Lily's Clefairy, right? Where you can take your first 4 prizes with the hands, and you're just like forcing them to respond, and then you just take the last knockout with the Clefairy. Like, I think there's routes for every single matchup, and that's interesting. Playing something low to the ground is, especially for a Worlds, like, I can't fault anyone for doing that because it's so grueling. And for some players, like, they just know, and I would count myself as one of them in certain situations, is like, against the best of the best, you need to try to find those advantages. And if you're able to kind of like change the pace of the game, right, from some really long, drawn out, really intricate gameplay to simplifying it down to like Joltik hands, like, that's cool. I don't know. Like, I think that there's something to be said for that. And I don't fault players for trying to go that route. So that didn't really say anything about the strength of the deck. It just kind of highlighted that it's a new pace of play compared to a lot of the other decks that we're seeing. But I do think that there is, I mean, all the cards in the deck read really well. And you do get, like, the Bangle helps your Galvantula be more of a threat onto things like Pheasantipede, things like Teal Mask Ogerpon, right? So that's like now an attacker that you have because you're already investing in energy.
Dude.
What?
No way.
What are you talking about? Yeah, dude.
No way. No way.
What? The Galvantula is good. You're gonna hit 210.
The Galvantula is good. I couldn't see that being a route.
You hit 210 on EXs, bro.
No, man. People are not playing the Bangle just for their Galvantula, dude.
Yes, they are. That's a thing.
That will not succeed.
That is a thing.
I didn't say it wasn't a thing.
The Galvantula because it can hit the 210, dude. It can hit the 210.
No, that's far too Krungo, I fear.
Okay, well, in any case, I think Joltik Box kind of good. I'm gonna say it.
I guess I have to like soften on it a little bit. The more I think about it, it is just you're correct. It allows you to play a different game, than what the stage 2 decks are trying to play. And if you're looking at like the prospect of heading into like a format with like Charizards and Dragapults and Gardevoirs and Grimmsnarls, and you're just like, I don't know, I'm kind of big basic coded, then yeah, like Joltik Box is your freaking deck. That just is like, it's kind of your deck. That or Raging Bolt, are like the two.
I don't know, man.
Joltik
okay,
Box
all right, and then like
kind of
hear me out.
Kind of
hear me out too on this, right? Like, I'm looking at the matchup spread. Like, it's not terrible. You're looking at a 60% into Charizard. Again, like all the stage 2s,
I don't know
I would expect.
Charizard Pidgeot matchup matters that much.
No, I'm just saying. Okay, Crustle is probably is gonna be tough. The Dragapults are all hovering about that 50%. Maybe Stray Dragapult's a little bit worse. Ethan's Typhlosion. Okay, you're kind of thinking that that's going to be a tough one. But Flareon, Gardevoir, both variants.
You look at this matchup spread though, and you're like, why not just play Goldango?
Well, because you're losing harder to something like Typhlosion or Crustle. You give yourself more of a shot with the Joltik Box.
You're still losing to Typhlosion and Crustle.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm staying negative on Joltik Box. I think it's good in the sense that it is a way that you can level the playing field, so to speak. Like you're saying, it's a way you can level the playing field. I just think you still don't just end up winning all those games though. You lose a good amount of them.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and there's a lot of, there's tricky things that happen.
And here's
right?
the thing.
Yep.
Here's the thing as well. Think of Joltik Box like in the Milwaukee time window, right? When I played it. Like it had amazing conversion rates into day 2 and always fumbled the bag. Like tremendous fall off ratio on the Joltik boxes.
It's true.
The entire like player base that makes up those like Worlds is entirely like day 2 type players.
That's facts.
So like if Joltik Box can't even hold the bag through a day 2, like I don't know, the prospect of playing it in the Worlds just feels like you're kneecapping yourself a little bit to me. I think the concepts that you're sharing are totally true, and that's what I was saying too, right? If you need to like level the playing field, you haven't got the reps in on some of the like higher end decks, like this is the way you can win those games, because you're not going to win like a straight Dragapult off against someone who's been playing more Dragapult than you. So this is the way you can win those games. I just don't think it on average does that well at the tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's done well
Riley's
in Japan.
convinced me. I'm back to being a hater.
No, it's done well in Japan.
Hater,
it's done well in Japan recently. I think that's, that says something. I could see a top 4. I could see a top 4. I could see a top 4.
I could see maybe a top 8. I don't know if I could see a top 4. I could see one slipping into like the higher ends. I would be really, really shocked if it was like actually in serious conversation of like, oh, this might win the tournament.
Yeah, I could see a top 4. I think that's very reasonable. But who am I? Who am I to say? But okay, so
I think you're meta manipulating right now.
I think I am. Yeah, I'm manipulating absolutely. Yeah, all the world's competitors that are listening and making their deck choices based on the words that I'm saying here tonight.
You're trying to fill the field with Joltics so you can have your friends roll up with Typhlosion.
So true, dude. Obviously, that's it. All right. Final topic here for now, because we are going to talk a bit more about the meta, maybe look at some lists next week. But what would be the deck that you would bring to Worlds right now, given all the options? I mean, there's a ton of viable decks right now. What are you taking if Worlds was tomorrow?
For me, Joltik Box. I'm just kidding. For me, I have only played Dragapult since the North American International Championship, so I'm a Dragapult lover and truther now.
Yeah,
and that will be the only deck I play going forward.
Okay,
that's
good
sick.
to hear.
I'm Typhlosion coded, bro. Oh yeah, like it would either be Raging Bolt or Typhlosion for me, because it was, and this is like my worst
Those are
part.
so different.
It's my worst part about being not really, because they both one-hit KO things. This is like my toxic trait as a Pokemon TCG player, is that I really just only want to play decks that I like. In not the decks
toxic?
that I like. The decks that I like don't always have to like have the same exact strategy. Sometimes it's just vibe based. Like I'll just in my mind I'll be like, oh, F that deck, and then I'll like never play it, and
Sure.
I'll never give it the time of day.
Sure.
And then when I do play it, I'll play it badly because I've already committed in my mind to being like, that deck sucks nuts anyway.
Yeah,
But then
that's
like
fair. I have
decks
seen that.
decks that I get invested in, or like I'm like, oh, that deck's sick, I'll actually work really, really, really freaking hard to try and make that deck as good as physically possible, and like really overcompensate to try and make it as good as it could be. And I would feel like, the Typhlosion deck, I could be like, oh yeah, I could fix her for sure, and would want to like, try and do well with that. That'd be so fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think for me,
What about you, Joey?
it would be I'd right the wrong of NAIC, and I would play Grimmsnarl. I was between Grimmsnarl and Raging Bolt the night before, and just got cold feet on the Grimmy, being a new archetype. I'd put in enough time with it. I don't know, kind of flip-flopped and settled on
You were
going
just
with
having
Raging
a rough
Bolt.
go.
Yeah, it was. I was in the tank for sure the night of, and yeah, I think I'd give it to Grimmsnarl for sure. I think that deck has a lot to, outside of a draw engine, which is its biggest concern. I think it's got a lot to like. There's a little bit of a control element to it. I think Maractus certainly slots into the deck now post NAIC. I think that card is insane for the deck, especially now that you have Air Balloon, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's got the control element. You have like quick damage. You can play a long game. You can play a short game depending on what's necessary. You have Snipe. You have Monkey Dory. I think there's a lot to like. So
I will say, if I was not playing Dragapult, that would be the next deck down on my list. They're also kind of like,
it's basically Dragapult. Yeah, it's like dark Dragapult. Yeah. So
yeah. So like, I'll allow that answer, JW.
Well, good. Well, we got another week until the World Championships. So, be prepared for more talk on the World's format for next week. But that is going to do it for us tonight. Thank you guys all so much for listening. If you want to get more plugged into the podcast, you can find us on X at Tag Team Pokemon for the cast, at Smiles with Riles for Riley, at Real John Walter for myself, and at Enjoy Friend for Andrew.
Thank you all so much for listening and your continued support, and we'll see you next time. Peace.